Her swept-back hair and welcoming smile made her instantly recognizable to almost every Houstonian. But it was the food at her restaurant on Navigation that made tens of thousands come to know Ninfa Laurenzo as Mama.
She was somebody that was very photogenic. She looked great all the time, you know. She always dressed up very well, and she always had her hair made up, and so she would walk into a room and people would know, hey, there's Mama Ninfa, you know, and so she became known as Mama to almost everybody, you know.
She was born Maria Ninfa Rodriguez in Harlingen and raised among the farming communities of the Rio Grande Valley. She and her Rhode Island-born husband, Dominic, allegedly flipped a coin to decide between moving to Los Angeles or the Bayou City.
In 1949, they opened the tortilla factory on Engle Key and Navigation Boulevard in the Second Ward. Right, and then eventually, I guess about 2 years later, they moved over to 2704 Navigation, which eventually became Ninfa's restaurant.
The couple spent 2 decades working 16-hour days and raising 5 children.
That business really consumed us because we lived next door always to the tortilla factory. So my dad would be up at 4 in the morning in the tortilla factory, and Mama would join him soon thereafter. They were very, very hard workers. And then they'd make their tortillas and the other products that my dad was always making, taco shells and different kinds of flour tortillas, corn tortillas. They even made pizzas at a point in time, lots of them.
Following her husband's untimely death in 1969 and left as the sole provider for the household, Ninfa opened a small restaurant.
There were only 12 tables, and it did catch on pretty quick, but there was a few months there in the beginning when people had to figure out, you know, what was going on.
The menu included typical Tex-Mex, but the biggest splash was from something else.
When my dad was alive, we used to go to Mexico City, and when we were there, we would eat something called tacos al carbon, which there represents basically a corn tortilla, and they've chopped up some beef and they put it inside the corn tortilla and then they hand it to you. It's kind of street food there. We always had the idea to bring something similar to a restaurant operation.
She didn't invent fajitas, but the char-grilled treat proved to be a gigantic hit. Soon downtown workers joined neighborhood diners, and socialites and celebrities were not far behind, all welcomed by Mama Ninfa herself. The restaurant tripled in size, and 5 years after that, there were 7 restaurants and 500 employees across the chain. Her legacy in Houston is more than just mouth-watering fajitas, however. Mama Ninfa became a part of the community.
They always belonged to different civic clubs in the neighborhoods. They were always given to the schools and to the churches, and I'm talking about my dad and mom, you know, that was just their nature.
Ultimately, she served on a dozen major boards, both in Houston and nationally. From a historical perspective, one friendship stands out, that of George and Barbara Bush.
They always came to the restaurants after, in fact, up until, you know, they passed, it would come to El Tiempo all the time too.
Their closeness brought Ninfa a major moment.
They became friends, very much so. So much so that they asked Mama to second the nomination of President Bush.
It was an impressive honor at the Republican National Convention. Her family says that her involvement in politics was more about people than partisanship.
Her thoughts were just the fact that it was her being a good citizen, both for Houston and for the state of Texas and for the country. She was very patriotic.
Ninfa Laurenzo died of breast cancer in June 2001. Houston City Council postponed their meeting to attend her funeral. Her name and spirit live on through great restaurants and the Ninfa Laurenzo HISD campus in East End. But perhaps her biggest legacy, like so many Houstonians, is the spirit of family she fostered among all who ate her cooking.
The sense of family, in a way, is everything to us because it's how we stay together. It's how we are able to share our lives together.
And as many thousands of strangers as she fed, she never forgot the most important meal of the week.
Food was a big thing for our family and continued to be throughout. And in fact, in the last many years of her life, we would all meet on Sundays at Mama's house, and then she would have a spread that she made up to keep everybody together, you know, so all my brothers and sisters and their children, and we would all show up at Mama's house and have a great big family feast.